When I sit in the chairs when you're actually getting chemo hooked up to you, you speak to other patients, and 3 out of 4 people in every room are like, yep, I take it, I eat it, I smoke it, vape it, do whatever I do, but almost everyone's doing it in some capacity. And if they're not, I feel like you're missing out on an opportunity to just help yourself out. So, Richard Neindorf, 29-year-old male. I'm a mechanical engineer working as a project manager for a utility company now. I'm Australian, moved over to Canada in 2015, just needed a bit of a change of pace. So before the diagnosis, life was relatively normal as far as it goes for a late 20-year-old man. Heavily into CrossFit, love my fitness and training, hanging out with friends, going out for drinks, ambitious in terms of career, looking to sort of further that direction of my life. I guess I took my health for granted, as a lot of people do. Not that I was treating my body particularly badly, but you never really truly appreciate something, what you have, until it's gone. I was having a bunch of issues with my digestion for a number of months, starting 2016. It got to a point in December when I went home to Australia where I was really sick, trying to visit friends and family. Couldn't complete workouts in the same way that I used to. I was just fatigued and run down the whole time, and like bowel movements and everything were really painful. So I knew something was wrong and had been for a while. I've been trying to get in with a specialist. January, I actually managed to get an appointment. They thought I had a parasite, so they started treating me for that, down a different path. And they said, look, just for precaution's sake, we'll do a colonoscopy. 2 weeks later, they had the scope of the back end, and within 7 or 8 inches of my rectum, they found a really decent sized tumor, which was the reason why everything was difficult to pass and I was having so many issues with my digestion. So they took a biopsy at that point. That would have been a Tuesday, and the following Friday, I got a call when I was at work and said, hey, look, sorry to give you some shitty news, but you've got stage 3 rectal cancer. So the process is going to start pretty quickly in the next few weeks. Like, just get prepared, and this is how things are going to roll on from here. So, look, I didn't panic. I'm generally a pretty level-headed guy. I knew that there was a tumor there at that point, so your mind naturally runs to the worst-case scenario. So I was prepared for it to be cancer, and had thought that, considering how sick my body had been, that it must sort of be along that vein at least. Not knowing much about staging or tumor sizes or anything like that, that was all a bit of a surprise. But it was tough because my family had to go through cancer probably 15 years ago when my mum had breast cancer. So she battled through that, survived and did really well. But I saw the toll it took on the family, so I knew that it was going to be a pretty rough year ahead. Because of the blockage from the tumor, they actually gave me an ileostomy. So they redivert part of your colon or your ileum out of your stomach so that you pass your fecal matter into a bag. So I carried that around for a year. So that was probably the toughest part of the whole experience, if I'm being perfectly honest with you, because that affects my training, it affects like personal life, sex life, the ability to go out and hike, having supplies. It's just it's a very big change to your life, especially as like a young adult. So I got that done February 2nd, 2017. Chemo started probably 5 weeks after that, probably 6 weeks once I'd recovered from surgery. The process at that point, so they take you and do CT scans, they give you 3 little tattoos, so they line you up for radiation. And I took radiation and chemotherapy every day, 5 days a week for 5 weeks. So it was a very intense cycle. The radiation, I've got to be honest, I've never felt as fatigued as I have in like that period of time. After I was diagnosed, I had a surgery, and then I went into chemotherapy and the radiation probably 6 weeks after that. That hits pretty hard, and it compounds, so the further through you get, the harder it hits basically. The chemotherapy started off as pills, and they give you a few anti-nausea pills and medications to deal with the side effects, which are generally loss of appetite, a bit of pain, nausea, so on and so forth. But they can often be stimulants as well. So if you take them at the wrong time and you have to try and sleep 4 or 5 hours later, you have a really hard go at it. It just keeps you active. I turned to medical marijuana to assist with that side of things, both from it fights the nausea, it helps with the appetite, which the anti-nausea meds from the cancer agency don't do. And that was a big thing for me as well. I was losing so much weight, not training as much as I used to, and not having the appetite to eat the way I used to as well, that I just didn't feel like eating on the chemotherapy. After smoking a little bit of medical marijuana, that appetite comes back with a vengeance. So you get the munchies, you really do. And it comes back and you can eat all the food that you need to eat. So the other side of that, as you mentioned, is there's a psychological side when someone throws the word cancer around. It beats you down no matter what your personality is. I've been upbeat and positive throughout the whole thing for the best part of it, but it still gets to a point where you just need to have a laugh and blow off some steam with some friends. I'm pretty fortunate that a few of the guys that I live with were pretty happy to have a smoke, and we get to a point where you just want to put on a comedy, like a really crappy, run-of-the-mill stoner comedy, have a toke and sit there and just laugh your tits off with your mates. CBD oil, I'll take. Obviously CBD doesn't have the high component, no THC. This has got really good chemotherapeutic effects, so anti-cancer fighting properties, anti-tumor fighting properties, and then other just general health benefits in terms of inflammation, etc. So I'll take, when I was going through treatment, I'd take 1 milliliter under the tongue every day. Now that the treatment's finished, I'll take 0.5 milliliter just to try and stretch it out, because it's quite expensive. It's about $100 for a 30 ml bottle. And then none of this is obviously covered by anything, so this is all out of my own pocket. And then the dry herb, we'll use this with a vape. So we bought the PAX vape, which is a really handy little bit of kit. Instead of burning the herb, it actually heats it up with a little oven in the end. So you just load it into this system here, and then via the button, it's powered. And then once that turns green, you're good to go. And that's sort of been the mechanism that I've been using more frequently, because the best cancer fighting properties as well is when you combine CBD with THC on like a 1-to-1 ratio. So I'll try and have a little bit of both each day. And then obviously if I'm having a rough time, I'll hit this a little bit harder. So this is, obviously can't have this before work, so that's where the CBD is really good, but that's the weapon of choice at this point. After going through my journey, I can really see the medical benefits of this and see why there's a big push for legalization. So understanding the benefits personally, I can see that the market is going to be huge, and it already is. I mean, this is basically like prohibition with alcohol. You're getting a chance to invest in something that's so widely used already in a semi-illegal way, knowing that it's becoming a legal market and you've got a chance to put a bit of cash into that market. You'd almost be crazy not to. But yeah, so investing in a medical marijuana company sort of strikes close to home as well, and I'd be supporting my own investment. Treatment or chemotherapy finished 6th of Jan this year, 2018. And you still deal with some of the after effects for a few weeks subsequent to that. And then I had my final surgery to remove the ileostomy, the bag, on the 20th of Feb or thereabouts. So I'm about a month after recovery of that. So I'm still very much in the recovery phase for a lot of that sort of sections, and I'm just sort of starting to get back to sort of routine as normal as things are now. And not having the bag, there are just little things that you can enjoy. Being able to sleep on your stomach. The simple pleasure of being able to take a poo, like the basic things. This is literally just the wind. I'm not getting emotional.